So, I think you all have to wear the headsets. So let's start. Entschuldigung, ich glaube, ihr müsst you have to turn on the headsets. So, do you hear me? Do you hear me? Yeah? Perfect. Great. Yeah, I'm happy to be here today, or we are happy to be here. And we are super glad that you are here with us for our session, for our CDP session. Yeah, what can you expect from this session today? So, perhaps a very small agenda. We will give you a very hands-on live demo of the platform. We needed to record the videos beforehand because you might have recognized that the Wi-Fi is not very good here. So we recorded the videos and we will tell you basically what you see. So you will have insights into BigQuery, into Zeotap CDP, and see how data is flowing, how segments are created, what kind of use cases you can implement with the CDP. And before we start with the practice, or with the praktischen Teil in German, we will have a little bit of theory. So a couple of slides to explain the approach of the solution before we jump into the solution. What you will learn today is why a build and buy approach makes sense. Because when you think about implementing a CDP, a customer data platform, you might think about building it on your own with your IT department or buying a software solution. But today we will present you an approach which is a buy plus build approach, a hybrid approach. We will also show you how easy it is to set this data solution up, and how easy it is to implement the first use cases actually. So before we jump into the platform, as I said, a little bit of theory, just a small introduction. I'm Stefan, by the way, VP Sales CDP at Zeotap. And Zeotap is a German data company. So we have a customer data platform, which is our CDP running on Google Cloud, where we help brands to unify data, segment data, and activate data in our software, in our data software. We are born and raised in Berlin, founded in 2014, started as a data company, as a data business, so our roots are in data and identity. And we're built in Germany, so we build everything based on privacy by design, based on DSGVO back in the days, and then GDPR, of course, which I think is a main differentiator of Zeotap. We raised 110 million in venture capital over the last years and invested this money in our CDP business. We have around 70 or 70 plus CDP customers across Europe. So we have a focus on European customers, but of course you can use the software globally. And we are around 220 employees. So over to Jana.
Great, thank you, Stefan, and welcome everyone. Thank you for being here. My name is Jana. I am the business development lead for CDP and retail media at Digitl Cloud. And also I do the Google Cloud Partner Management. So we actually have two focuses. We have Digitl and Digitl Cloud. Digitl is focused on GMP products, so Google Marketing Platform products, where we are also a sell and service partner. And for Digitl Cloud, we actually have a cloud agnostic approach. Since many of our companies and many of the clients we work with have a multi-cloud environment, we also focus on other things, but we are Google Cloud sell and service partner, and this is something we will focus on today. So to tell you a bit more about the company, we actually started a year ago, so a good year ago in 2022, and we are already more than 40 experienced professionals throughout Europe. Our headquarters is actually here in Hamburg, and we focus on, for example, strategy consulting, marketing and data analytics. We have a lot of data scientists for machine learning, application development, and infrastructure and cloud migration. But now let's talk about what's interesting today and why you are all here, customer data platforms. Nowadays, we live in a world that is constantly changing. From technological advancements to societal shifts, change is inevitable and happening faster than ever before. While change can be uncomfortable or even disruptive at times, we can position ourselves to use these opportunities for innovation and growth. By embracing change and staying agile, we can position ourselves to thrive in this ever-changing world. So in today's data-driven industry, Companies need to leverage and manage data effectively to stay competitive, to deliver personalized experiences, and meet customer needs. But this is especially a challenging task when it comes, for example, to data privacy and security. So speaking about challenges, a customer data platform can address many of the marketing challenges businesses face today. Starting off with privacy regulations. With the increasingly new rules for GDPR and legal regulations, companies need to focus on a privacy-first approach. And with that comes, of course, the need for first-party data. So due to the decline in third-party cookies or also mobile identifiers, companies need to focus on a first-party data strategy and collect a lot of data, which brings us to the next point, breaking down data in silos. So now that companies collect a lot of first-party data, that data is often stored in silos. So we need to solve that challenge by creating a comprehensive customer view. Also, companies need to use predictive analytics and machine learning models to anticipate customer behavior and create actionable insights to make data-driven decisions. A CDP can be the future-proof infrastructure to solve many of these challenges. But how does a CDP actually work? So we just talked about data being collected in silos and also from various sources. So data collection from sources for a CDP could be, for example, data from data warehouses, websites, CRM, social media, or mobile apps. Once you've collected all of that data, you of course want to unify it into one comprehensive customer view. You can do this by consolidating data as well with, for example, raw and hashed email addresses, CRM IDs, or web analytics IDs. And once you've unified that data to create a comprehensive view of the customer, you of course want to move to the next step where you segment your data. Here you can segment data based on specific activation use cases. You can do so by segmenting data based on customer attributes, or also automate segmentation by using machine learning models and creating and enriching segments automatically. The next step, of course, and this is the most important step, is to activate and orchestrate your customer data. Here you want to focus on activating the customer journey in real time by sending the right message to the right audience at the right time, and also, of course, by using the right channel. So now that you understood what a CDP does and what marketing challenges it solves, companies often see the approach of either buying or building their own CDP. So here you could either build your CDP in Google Cloud or buy a CDP from an independent service vendor. But why choose that path to success when you can have the best of both worlds? So our approach is actually to combine the benefits of both build and buy for CDP in our hybrid approach. And that, of course, comes with many benefits. First of all, a big benefit is time to market and time to value. Here you combine, for example, buying a pre-built CDP from an independent service vendor, so Zeotap, of course, and you also save a lot of time on deployment and testing. So especially if you want to build your own CDP, you will have to face a lot longer project timelines. So here we could speak about maybe a year or two to actually set up and build your entire CDP in Google Cloud. And when buying a pre-built solution, we can actually execute first use cases in around 8 weeks. The next big benefit is customization. Customization allows for a lot of features and functionalities based on your unique data needs or workflows, especially if you want to bring and use your own AI and ML capabilities in Google Cloud. This is something that's a big benefit for the hybrid approach. And, of course, lastly, it integrates well. So you can see that with a pre-built solution, you will have a lot of integration to, for example, MarTech and AdTech landscapes, which will most likely fit well into your marketing technology stack. Now, let's take a closer look into how the hybrid two-zone approach works for CDP. Again, here we start off with collecting data from various data sources. So for example, you could collect first-party data from Google Analytics, from on-site behavior. You could use CRM data from SAP or Salesforce, or transactional data from your e-commerce system. Of course, you can also use a lot of other data sources. And what's actually interesting here, we can also bring in second-party data. This is, for example, data from data partnerships or via data clean rooms. The next step is the data ingestion in real time into Zone 1 and Zone 2, which works smooth and hassle-free. Zone 1 is the focus of Google Cloud. So this is the Google Cloud infrastructure, and Zone 2 is your CDP Zeotap. We will focus on the individual zones on the next two slides. And what applies to the data sources, of course, also applies to the MarTech activation. This is the most important part of your CDP because you want to activate and leverage your data that you actually collect. So here, an example for activation throughout various channels could be Google Ads or DV360 for media activation. You could use Facebook, TikTok, or Instagram for social media activities, Optimizely for on-site personalization, Airship for push notifications, and Braze for SMS and email. Of course, here you also have a lot of other channels that you can choose, which Stefan will show you in our demo. Now let's deep dive into Zone 1 and understand the Google Cloud infrastructure. The first point, of course, is data storage and management. Here you could, for example, pre-aggregate data in BigQuery from the multiple sources that we just saw and create a comprehensive view of your customer landscape. Once you have your data storage and pre-aggregation of data in BigQuery, for example, you can use advanced analytics to discover hidden trends and valuable insights within your data. And of course, then you can also leverage AI and ML capabilities and enrich your first-party data with powerful insights. So this could be, for example, brand affinity, purchase prediction, or customer lifetime value. The next big benefit that Google Cloud provides is scalability and flexibility. Here you can adapt to your ever-changing business by, for example, seasonality uptimes and traffic peaks, and you can scale effortlessly up or down to handle growing data volumes. And last but not least, the most important point is security and compliance. Google Cloud encrypts your data at rest, so you can be assured that your data is secure and you can maintain GDPR regulations and legal regulations. Now let's take a look at Zone 2, the CDP of Zeotap. Something you can start off with here is the identity stitching. Here you can, for example, choose primary and secondary identifiers to leverage the advanced ID stitching capabilities of Zeotap. This is something Stefan will also show you in our demo. Once you've done the ID stitching, we can move on to the native ID extension. So Zeotap actually gives you the chance to enrich your first-party audiences and increase your match rates. So you have a way bigger audience to actually activate. And then, again, audience segmentation is, of course, a very important part of both zones. Here I will show you how we can do basic audience segmentation in Zone 1 later on. And then the focus is the audience segmentation with the highly targeted audience segments and an intuitive UI with Zeotap later on. So this is really easy to create segments in Zeotap. And the next step, cross-channel activation. You want to use the full customer journey and easily orchestrate your customer your activation and your segments in real time by, for example, using out-of-the-box MarTech and AdTech integrations or Symphony, Zeotap's user workflow. And one important thing, if you activate your segments, is, of course, the consent orchestration. So here, Zeotap lets you get an overview of all of your consents and orchestrate consent specifically to the activation to ensure that all marketing activities are compliant with the specific regulations and user preferences. And the seamless integration. Here, Zone 1 and Zone 2 work hassle-free and seamless together in real time to create a comprehensive and efficient customer data management solution. To sum up, what are the benefits of our hybrid approach? Firstly, you can optimize the total cost of ownership by, for example, splitting workloads between the two zones based on their use cases, and we can leverage Google Cloud funding effectively. To enhance efficiency, we can use the best of both world approach, just as you saw, to save a lot of time, have this time to value, and implement first use cases in 8 weeks. Next, we can also improve scalability, and I think that this is a very important point, so we can actually give everyone what they need and what they know. This means developers can still work with Google Cloud, and marketers have a central user interface to orchestrate campaigns very easily across various channels. A CDP is also a good base for a retail media strategy. Here you can use the first-party segments that you've built and use that for data monetization for retail media. And last but not least, data sovereignty. Finally learned how to pronounce this word. This means to retain control of your private data. So to actually have that private data in Zone 1, and you have all of that data in Google Cloud in your own infrastructure. This makes it easier to, for example, comply with GDPR regulations and also internal policies. To sum up, here are some of the key takeaways that we have insights and learnings from our journey. First up, we actually start with a kickoff workshop that we set up with the client where we discuss goals, use cases, and the rollout of the project. Here we focus on granular scoping, where we think in depth about the right identity strategy, data schema, account setup, and all of the success metrics way at the beginning. In order to avoid delays down the road, you not only have to focus on granular scoping, but also privacy and compliance. Here it's really important to involve legal teams and DPOs as early as possible. We need to discuss data flows, consent situations, and also data privacy issues to avoid these delays down the road. And for me, the most important part is to start simple. So to use this enhanced efficiency and to create use cases in 8 weeks, we recommend to really start with simple use cases, but impactful use cases. Oh my. Here we want to make the project successful quickly. To actually explain what this means, here's our approach. So when we start a CDP implementation project with the client, we split the rollout into 3 phases. Phase 1 is the focus of creating the implementation and delivery of a basic CDP infrastructure. So a basic Google Cloud infrastructure and a basic Zeotap CDP integration. Here we also want to define first use cases and execute a minimal viable product. So an example of that will be given later by Stefan, where we can show you one of the cases we've done with clients. Phase 2 is the full implementation of CDP capabilities, including the completion of first use cases that you discussed in phase 1. And then phase 3 is the focus. This is where you want to develop your vision, where you want to be as a company. So we can focus on new and disruptive use cases that require some development in the organization. To show you how this actually looks like, we break use cases down into this matrix. Here we can see that the higher the effort to implement, so the complexity, the higher the use case phase is. So of course, these use cases that are more complex will also take more time to implement. But we want to focus, for example, on a low effort to implement, but a high business impact. This would, for example, be audience exclusion, where I'm handing over to Stefan, who can give you more insights into an audience exclusion case.
Yeah, thank you, Jana. We have one customer in the UK who's, and we introduced this use case already at Demexco last year, together with Virgin Media, O2. And Virgin Media wanted to start with everything at the beginning and very fast, and wanted to implement like 5, 10, 12 use cases, integrate 20 data sources, a lot of destinations, and so on, right? Real-time personalization, paid media, everything right at the beginning, everything right at the start, from the start on. And we said that's not a good idea, because then a CDP implementation will take 2, 3, 5 years until we have all the data that we need in the platform and integrate with all the different systems and silos and so on. So we said, let's start with an impactful use case, right, to have first results quickly and then also have a little bit more quiet times across the different departments because we have first successes quickly, right? And that is very important when you have a big complex project. You might know that, that you need to have first successes very quickly. So what we did is we started with a suppression use case. So we said, okay, who are the customers who can't buy? And you don't want to advertise to these customers again and again and again because they already bought, or they are coming anyways to your website and or to your store and buy. So we decided let's suppress all customers, and version 02, it's a telco, right? So when you sign a contract with a telco, you are out of the market for 1 year or for 2 years. And we said, okay, Virgin of course said, yeah, we're doing that already. We are uploading our data in Google and Facebook. We are excluding existing customers. So, but what the CDP is doing is unifying the data coming from different data sources. So we had more customers, more IDs available per customer to match more customers in the different output channels like Google and Facebook. And VM saved £1 million in the first year with this use case alone, right? And why? Because they reduced the cost per order, the CPO, and they didn't waste basically the different the media budget to customers that already bought, or customers who can't buy, or customers who are buying anyways. So as a retailer, for example, you don't want to advertise and pay for users that are coming every week to your store or website. Perhaps you don't need to advertise to them, or you can do it differently, right? You don't need to activate them in expensive channels. Yeah, this is basically one use case which is easy to implement and has a very high impact, depending on your business. Let's jump into the demo. So over to you, Jana.
Great, thank you. So we can jump into the first video we've prepared. We are not doing the live demo, as Stefan already said, based on the internet. So let's start with the online shop that we've set up for this OMR Masterclass to showcase the capabilities of Zone 1 and Zone 2. Unfortunately, you won't be able to buy anything in this online shop, but who knows, if we implement the first CDP project, we can get some limited merch for you. Now let's take a look. Okay, the video is going. Now let's take a look at what we have to offer. We have, for example, hoodies, t-shirts, or beanies from the famous manufacturers Digitl Cloud, Zeotap, and OMR. Here we can also see that we have phone cases and, for example, this OMR mug. This mug could potentially be your lifesaver for a coffee after 2 long days at OMR. But what's most interesting is what happens behind the scenes. Let's take a look at the data layer that we've implemented on the website. If we take a look here, we can see all kinds of information where we have the item ID, we have the item name, so the OMR mug, and we have, for example, the item price. All of this information is collected by the data layer that we've implemented through Google Tag Manager. But one thing is missing here. We still need the user ID. So the reason we don't have the user ID is because we haven't logged in yet. Now, if we check up here, we can log in with Stephanie Rockstar's email account that we've created. And once Stephanie logs in here, we can see that all of the relevant information is now available. But the information isn't only in this overview page, but if we check the data layer, we can see, et voila, the user ID is here. So this user ID comes from the CRM and is one of the main IDs that we can use for Stephanie. We can use this to, for example, track cross-device behavior or brick-and-mortar purchases that Stephanie has done in the past. All of this is possible with the Google Tag Manager instance that we have implemented on the website. This is something we will show you in the next video. Now, the second point is data collection and management. So this focuses also on the pre-aggregation of data, and I will show you how Google Tag Manager is set up and how we set up the BigQuery instance. After that, we will jump into the Zeotap demo. So here you can see the Google Tag Manager instance that we've made for the OMR online shop. Here we, for example, have, I think I forgot to press start. Now it's going. Here we have, for example, several triggers and events that we have defined on the website. For example, we have a add to cart event, we have a purchase event, up to the add to wish list event. But the most important event that you can see here is the provide user ID event. This event is happening when the user ID is present in the data layer, as we just saw on the website. We also implemented two main tags for this demo. So the GA4 tag delivers all enhanced e-commerce information and the information of the shop to Google Analytics 4 via these events and triggers up here. We did the same thing for the Zeotap tag. So here, for example, we have the same events, and they are sent in a similar way to the Zeotap backend. And again, what's really important here is as well, we have the user ID present. So this is something that an event is fired when the user ID is present in the data layer. Here you can also see that we send the user ID as an additional parameter to Google Analytics 4. And we also send the user ID in a similar way to the Zeotap backend. Now let's quickly jump back to the OMR page, and we can take a look at the OMR mug. Here on the bottom right, you can see that the Google Tag Manager debugging assistant is active, and this tracks all of the events that are fired on the page. So if we check back into Google Tag Manager, we can see on the left the OMR mug and all of the events that are implemented on this page. If we take a look at the view item event, and we see it in the data layer, we can see all of the information that is displayed on the online shop about the OMR mug here. And you can also see the two tags are fired. So the GA4 tag and the Zeotap tag are fired here, and all of this data is available. We also are going to look at the get user ID event. Here we can see that the same tags are fired for the get user ID event when, for example, Stephanie is logged in, and we can have her user ID and her information sent to GA4 and to Zeotap directly. So here you also see that it's pushed into a similar way to Zeotap. And now you can understand that with Google Tag Manager, we can collect all kinds of information from the website and quickly send them to GA4 and to Zeotap to then work and base our next steps in BigQuery on that. So welcome to Google Cloud. This is the Zone 1. And here we can jump into BigQuery, which could be your data warehouse solution. Through the linking of GA4 to BigQuery, we can import raw event data into these two tables here. Since the shop is running on top of Google Cloud, we can access all of the database of shopware as well. This is done through an external connection by linking Cloud SQL, which you can see here, to BigQuery. When we access all of the database from shopware, we can create views to analyze that data. So here we have all kinds of shopware data, which we can analyze through views in BigQuery. But now, let's jump into the first query we've prepared for you. Here we can query data from Google Analytics via the user ID of Stephanie Rockstar. So once we run this query, we can see that now we have all of the Google Analytics 4 information down here, and we also have the user ID again. Now to the second query. This is a table that automatically updates itself several times a day and matches all of the shopware data to the most recent Google Analytics client ID. Here, if we run the query, we can see the email address, which can be used as a primary identifier for the matching process. And this brings us to the last query I want to show you today. This table is also automatically ingested into the Zeotap backend. Here we can see that we can query the SHA-256 hash from Stephanie Rockstar's email address And this is an example, for example, of how to hash PAI data before being ingested into Zone 2. Once we run this query, we can see that we have a lot of information down here, from her first name to her last name, up to the type of purchase or the purchase transaction type, her country of residence, and the last items she has purchased. You can see Stefanie is a very big fan of her online shop. And the most interesting parts here are the conversion probability score and the customer lifetime value that we can generate in Zone 1. This is based on ML models through Vertex AI. Vertex AI and its ML models are available easily in Google Cloud and can be applied to all of your data in BigQuery. So the outcomes of this table are based on this established matching process that we've already done in Zone 1. Another very interesting part here is the customer type. Since I told you I will show you how segmentation will take place in Zone 1, we can see here the customer type, so Stefanie being a loyal customer, is an example of how segmentation happens in Zone 1. So thank you for bearing with me, and I can pass over to Stefan for the demo.
Thank you, Jana. Danke. So now we jump into the CDP. Are you ready for the CDP? Yeah. Okay, great. So this is our beautiful UI called Unity. Is the video running? Yes, I think so. So let's, I will give you a quick overview first. So our platform is built in a modular way. So you have different modules, and these modules are responsible for different things. Of course, you need to ingest the data from Zone 1 or directly from your website, from your app, CRM, and so on, from different data sources into the CDP in order to stitch the data and make it available for segmentation and activation. This is what you do in Collect. So bring in the data into the CDP. Then we have two components or two modules for segmentation, orchestration, and activation of the data. In Connect, this is our audience builder. You do everything what is on a segment level. So you create audiences, segments, and activate these segments, not in real time, in platforms like DSPs for programmatic advertising or Facebook and so on, social media, TikTok, Snapchat, and so on. In Symphony, you do everything what needs to happen in real time. Website personalization, app personalization, email automation. So here you can create workflows and to send the right data at the right time to your different real-time channels, like, for example, recommendation engines, email platforms, and so on. We will show you both. We have also out-of-the-box predictive models, ML models, machine learning models for recency, frequency, monetary value, and customer lifetime value. But of course, you can also do more advanced analytics in Zone 1 and then ingest this data into the CDP. You can set up destinations, your output channels. And when you create an audience, you can then just click on the destination that you set up to send data to the downstream systems. Of course, you can set up your different users that should use the platform at the end, and you can give every user rights and roles for the different modules. So you can say someone should have editor rights or admin rights, view rights, and so on for the different modules. When you work with agencies, for example, you might just want to give them access to connect, but perhaps not to collect. The Customer 360 view, we also built, like a click dummy, how a Customer 360 view could look like for Stefanie Rockstar, based on the OMR shop. This is how we visualize what happens in the back end, so the stitching, where we bring all the data together. Let's start with Collect, just quickly. There are different ways to ingest data into the platform. Do I need to click? No. So, of course, you can bring in data directly from your website using a JavaScript tag or an iframe tag, like a pixel. But you can also do that, how Jana showed you, via a tag manager, like Google Tag Manager, Adobe Launch, or we can even work with Tilium, for example. So you can create a pixel directly in our UI. You have documentation for all the different data sources, how you can collect the data. And as I said, you can use a tag manager and to collect the data and ingest the data in real time into the platform. You can also ingest data from your apps. We have a native SDK for Android and for iOS to collect data, behavioral data from your apps and ingest it in real time to the CDP. You can also upload flat files, JSON files, CSV files. We will then create a Google Cloud instance for you where all your data will flow into. And of course, only you have access to this data. You can also do that via safe SFTP transfer. So you see there are a lot of different ways to ingest data into the CDP. From any data source, we can bring in the data into the platform. Via API, and we have out-of-the-box integrations also with Salesforce CRM and other CRM systems, or with, as you saw, BigQuery as a data warehouse, or Snowflake, can also be AWS, of course, or Azure. So where your data is sitting, you can bring the data via different ways into the CDP. You can also back-channel data, for example, from Braze. Braze is an engagement platform. And you can re-ingest data, for example, from Braze to give a ping into the CDP where you say, hey, this user opened an email or reacted to my campaigns, and you can ingest this campaign data into the CDP as well. Now we show you how easy it is to bring in data from Zone 1, that Jana presented, into Zone 2, which is the CDP. So you just need to give the data source a name, type in your credentials. Like for example here, I cannot see that easily. The sync frequency, so how often do you want to update the data in the CDP? Is it daily, is it weekly, is it monthly? Then you need to type in the different credentials. You need to pick the name of the table you want to ingest into the platform. And you can also quite easily select the table here, select a file and upload it into the CDP. And then it takes about 2 minutes, and the data is from BigQuery, from your data warehouse in the CDP. Of course, data from your website or from your app are flowing into the CDP in real time. And what you do then in the CDP is you bring this data together and unify the data in the CDP. So as soon as you ingest data or transfer data into the CDP, you see here, for example, a preview of the data fields flowing into the system. And now you need to map the data. That means you need to translate this data into one common taxonomy, right? Because what a CDP is doing is unifying data which is sitting in different data silos initially. And perhaps the data fields have different names in your data silos. My example is always, perhaps you have data silo A, like a CRM, where you say, gender is called female here, and then you have data source B where it says F for female. Then you need to translate it in the CDP and say female is female in the CDP, F is also female in the CDP. So you bring the data into one taxonomy, into one common language. So we don't show you the whole mapping here. It would take a little bit. It would be just a little bit boring. But you see here that you can use Zeotap's out-of-the-box taxonomy. So we give you basically an out-of-the-box taxonomy that you can use to map your data and translate your data. Or you can create custom fields and say, I have here a customer lifetime value, and it's a string, and I want to map the data in a certain way, and I want to use my own taxonomy to apply my taxonomy in the CDP as well. Here you see basically out-of-the-box fields. But as I said, you can also use your own taxonomy and super easily create different data fields. So this is a field we saw, for example, in Zone 1, RFM models. We have now the conversion probability as well. And this is the last field we show you and move on with the more exciting parts. So you saw the conversion probability score, for example, that you can ingest from Zone 1 into Zone B or into Zone 2. And now we mapped all the different fields. And when we click Save, then the data will be ingested into the CDP. And you will have it available for segmentation and activation in the different downstream systems. You get a report, of course, that shows you how much data you ingested, if it failed, if it was successful. And we give you also a reason why it might have failed. So that you have transparency, how much data you ingested into the platform, how long it took, and what kind of data you have available, and if it was successful. You can also create calculated attributes. We skipped that part where you can count things. For example, when you want to create segments and say, give me all users who at least visited my website 5 times. So it's basically counting the different events the user is doing. Let's now jump into the heart of the CDP, this is the identity stitching. Before I jump into the platform again, I have this slide here to explain the different identity strategies that we provide, because we are coming from ID stitching, so we are one of the only CDPs, or the only CDP who is providing different stitching strategies, identity stitching strategies. So imagine, for example, my wife and I, we are using the same desktop, the same laptop, and we are visiting a website that everybody knows, I think Zalando, for example, right? But we might be interested in different kind of clothes. So, but when we both, with the same cookie, because we use the same browser, visit the website, and even when we log in with different email addresses, in the first strategy, which is the merge strategy that most of the CDPs use, we will be the same user, because we have the same cookie. And this is the common denominator here in this case, to stitch all the data together based on this cookie ID. So a lot of use cases you want to differentiate based on gender and different customer profiles. So it might be a good idea to define primary and secondary IDs. A primary ID can be a persistent ID like an email address, which is quite unique for me and for my wife, right? So when we visit the website and we log in with the email address, so we can use this email address to create independent profiles. So whenever there is an email address, two profiles will be created. One profile for me and one profile for my wife. And it could have the same cookie in this case, right? Same cookies can be attached to both profiles, but we can differentiate between these two profiles and people and users, right? And we can also create relations between these different IDs. This is how it looks like in the CDP. Oh, I need to start the video. Is it starting now? No. So you can choose what kind of identity strategy is working for you and your use cases. So we will, and this is what we meant with granular scoping, we need to check what are your use cases, what is your strategy, how is your data looking like, what do you want to achieve, to say, okay, is the merge strategy better for you, or is it the differentiate strategy? So here you can define super easily primary and secondary IDs. Zhao, you already said that you need to leave earlier, so they have an excuse. So for example, you can say an email address should be a primary ID. A mobile advertising ID should be a primary ID, or a mobile phone number should be a primary ID. And then you can also prioritize the different IDs and say, if there is an email address that has highest priority, so please create a profile for a user whenever there is an email address. If there is no email address, look into the priority list. What is the second most important ID? You're doing this prioritization, difficult word here. You say email address is most important, then for example a mobile advertising ID, a mobile phone number, and then you can look into cookies like Google cookies, the Trade Test cookie, AdForm cookies, and so on. Right? So you can choose and pick what are the most important IDs for you in order to create a user profile. And of course, attached to these IDs, you will find the different attributes and events and purchase behavior of the user that is then linked to the user profile. And we will jump into such a user profile in the next chapter. So let's jump into the Customer 360 view. Starting now. So in the back end of a CDP, this stitching process is happening. And attached to these different IDs, you have different CRM information, like profile attributes of a user that we see here, and events, so website events, so what is the user doing on my website, in the app, and so on. So here you see for Stephanie Rockstar, we have different IDs coming from different data sources. That might be the user ID we saw in Zone 1. You can ingest this data into the platform. All the data attached to this user ID will then be stored against her profile. But she might also visit your website or your app. So you have a mobile advertising ID with browsing behavior within the app. You have a cookie, perhaps, with browsing information on the website. You might have a CRM ID and different other identifiers that you bring together in the CDP. And the CDP will help you to stitch the data based on the identity strategy. And of course, you have then different information attached to these IDs. Can be demographic information, can be probability scores, can be any information that you have and that you calculated in own data science models, and interest stuff like that you want to use for segmentation. Right, can be calculated attributes like a lifetime value, number of visits in the last 90 days on the website, and yeah, all the different useful information like inter-purchase time. So how often is she buying something in your online store or in your offline store? And of course, you saw that information in Zone 1. You can also ingest scores like, is she a good customer, or is she a customer at risk, an inactive customer, a high-value customer, a loyal customer? And this information, of course, is very valuable to then communicate with Stephanie in a certain way, right? What is her channel? So from where is she always visiting the website? Is she always clicking on Facebook campaigns? Is she always coming from Google? You can store this information against this profile and use also that for segmentation. So it might be a good idea to activate Stephanie in Facebook because she's converting most from Facebook. And very important, attached to these IDs, there's also consent information. So you might collect consent on your website with a CMP. You might collect consent in your app. You might collect consent in your offline store, or when you are in insurance, or you have basically stores or agents and so on. You collect consent in different data sources and store it in the CRM, in the CMP, and directly on the website and so on. And of course, you can also bring this information into the CDP and use this information to communicate in a GDPR-compliant way with your customers. Yeah, it can be a marketing preference and can be different purposes. Of course, also real-time data is flowing into the system. So what kind of URL Stephanie Rockstar visited, what she did on the website, did she start at the checkout, did she buy something, did she abandon the cart, and from where did we ingest data from Stephanie into the platform? Where did we activate Stephanie, and what kind of segments is she belonging to, right? So you have also like a reporting functionality here, and you can search for different users and look into the data. For the marketing teams, it's nice because they have an idea, okay, what kind of data do I have from my certain users? What kind of audiences can I create? What kind of workflows make sense? And you can export all of these unified profiles to enrich your data in your data warehouse at the end, and to improve your own propensity models that you might run. You can also, and we had this case with advertisers already, of course you can send us deletion requests every day. Okay, these users opted out, please delete them from the platform. But sometimes there are users that say, please delete all my data immediately, I will go to court, and so on and so forth. So sometimes customers are getting quite nervous, and you can then search for the user, search for the email address, and delete the profile. And we will send this deletion request to the downstream systems where Stephanie is activated. So we will tell Facebook, Google, and so on, please delete her from all the campaigns and from all the segments she's into. This is also an additional security layer, right? So your DPO will love that. Now, I talked about consent already. Just quickly, let's jump into consent orchestration. Zeotap CDP, as a German CDP, we have created or developed this module where you can say what kind of consent information you collect from your users and from your customers. And then you can create rules per channel and say, hey, Zeotap, make sure that whenever we activate a user or an audience in Facebook, please make sure that just users are activated who gave the corresponding consent. So even if I'm a high-value customer and you create a high-value customer audience, when I didn't give the right consent, we don't send this user ID to Facebook. So here, for example, we created like a purpose. So we want to create rules for marketing consent. And then we have here, for example, a channel like a DSP. I think we picked ad form. And you can say, hey, Zeotap, whenever I activate an audience and send it to ad form, please make sure that only users are sent to ad form who gave marketing consent in this case. And of course, there will be all your different purposes where you collect consent for. And for example, all users who gave consent for ad tech channels, right? And now you have created this rule, and this rule is applying per default. So you don't need to consider this when you create new audiences all the time. And in other platforms, you need to consider content all the time, and you can forget that. Yeah, we are all humans, and that can be expensive at the end. So let's jump into the different use cases. So we ingested data into the platform, we stitched the data, we created profiles, and now we want to segment the data and activate it. So this is our segment builder. Connect, where we can create audiences and create users on an audience level, or send users on an audience level into the different platforms. So we pre-created 2 audiences here, which is a normal retargeting audience of people who abandoned the cart for beanies, and a suppression audience. You saw suppression, for example, exclusion of existing customers in the VMO2 case. So we have this view, I call it in German Kachel view. But of course, when you have more audiences, we also have a list view. It's better to manage the different audiences then. And you can also filter the audiences. You can give every audience that you create a tag so that you can easily group the audience and filter the audience by use case or by purpose of the audience or by activation platform. So give me all audiences I activated in DV360 or on the Trade Desk or on Facebook or on Salesforce. You also see where we activated the audience or where you activated the audience and if the data push was successful. If it was not successful, we give you a reason. For example, you picked the wrong identifiers and tried to send the Trade Desk cookies to Google, right? Which is not working. Then you have a lot of details. And I think we touched that in the beginning slightly is what is also unique to Zeotap is you can create an audience based on your first-party data. And as Zeotap is coming from data and identity, we have an out-of-the-box identity graph built into the platform natively. And we can help you to match more IDs, output IDs, to your input IDs. So when you just have email addresses and cookies from your users, we might know also more email addresses or mobile advertising ID for the same user deterministically, and we can help you to match more users in the output channels. That's why you see here, for example, 250,000 users initially in the audience, and by activating the Zeotap ID graph, we might help you to increase this match rate and send more user IDs to the output channels that you see here, for example, DV360 or Facebook. I think I need a little bit of water. So we will jump into an audience now. And for example, this is the influencer stage, I guess. There's a lot of things happening. So here, for example, you see how easy it is to set up an audience. So to give the audience a name, you can give it a tag. You say, okay, what are my input identifiers that I want to choose? And then you can use here our audience builder to select the different attributes that we brought into the system and mapped, right? So you find all the information, all the events, all the attributes of the user, all the data you ingested. You will find here in a drop-down. You don't need any SQL or any data science degrees to create an audience. You can just basically drag and drop the audience or select the different attributes. And then we have the operators you just saw with equal, not equal, give me all users who consist or who are equal to, for example, loyal customers. And in this case, we want to create an audience for all our loyal customers and best customers, or all customers who bought a product in the last 7 days. And these users, we want to exclude now from any acquisition campaign. To save this budget and to reinvest this budget again into Google, Facebook, and so on. One click on this button, with one click here, you activate the Zeotap graph in order to match more output IDs to your input IDs. So as I said, when you just have an email address here in the beginning or a cookie and a mobile phone number, and you pick here, but I also want to reach my users on mobile devices, we can help you to match a mobile advertising ID perhaps to an email address. And we know in our third-party ID graph, we know in Germany around 30 million email addresses connected to other IDs deterministically. So let's create an audience based on data we ingested from zone 1. We picked the conversion probability, and you can then create an audience easily with all users with a high conversion probability for a certain product and activate these users in the different channels. to increase your conversion rate. So you give the audience a name, you can give the audience a tag, and you see it's quite easy to use the user interface. So even I can do it. And this is why we built the CDP really for marketeers, for marketing teams, CRM teams that can use the data and have access to a data that is usually sitting in data warehouses where you need to query the data and you don't have access to the data in the marketing team. And we want to make it easy for marketeers to have access to data and to holistic data, to the 360 profiles in order to orchestrate the data, create audiences in a very easy way. For example, here you say, give me all users with a high conversion probability score. And you see it's very easy to use. So you say the probability score should be higher than 0.8. So a very high conversion probability for a certain product or product category. In this case, I think we picked hoodies. And of course, I mean, our online shop that we created here is quite a small shop, right? It's like for the demo. Of course, this is also working for big retailers we are working with, and automotive companies and so on, where you can also ingest product feeds into the platform and bulk create an audience based on an API for all the products you might have, all the SKUs. We say here, okay, give me all users with a high conversion probability score for a certain product, but of course we don't want to target users who already bought the product. You all know that it is quite annoying when you get ads from companies and products, and you already bought the product 2 days ago, and you keep on getting the ads. So here you can avoid that. And then we say, okay, we have probably email addresses, we have cookies, and now with one click, you want to say, we also have an event timestamp. So we say in the last 30 days, I guess. And then you say with one click, okay, I have my input IDs. And now I want to increase my reach, because this is also a challenge a lot of platforms have, that, okay, you have your data here available, but then you want to activate the data in the output channel, and the scale of the audiences is quite low. So in order to have a little bit of wumms behind the campaigns, right, you can use our identity graph to match more output IDs to the input and increase your match rate when you want to activate the data in Google Customer Match, in Facebook, in TikTok. You need different identifiers, and you cannot match me, for example, in Facebook, for example, with my Gmail address. Perhaps I'm registered with my old web.de address or Hotmail address, right? So when you just have my Gmail address, you cannot match me in Facebook. You need my mobile advertising ID, or you need the right email address. And we might have the email address in our graph, so we can help you here to match more output IDs. Of course, you can say, okay, how often do I want to refresh the audience? And you say, I want to include my input data and the output data. Then you go to the destinations, and we pre-defined some destinations here. You can just, with 3 clicks, activate the audience in 3 channels, and it's done, right? So in 5 minutes, you created an audience and send it to the campaign, to the channels, and you can apply the audience to your campaigns. Here you see a lot of different integrations, and it's quite easy to set up another destination. So for example, the trade desk, you give it a name, you say OMR, the trade desk channel, we just need a seed ID or partner ID, so basically your account ID, and then you pick a currency. It can be dollars, it can be euro, whatever your currency is. And as easy as that, you connected the CDP with your output channel, and now you can also activate this audience in the trade desk. So I mean, of course, the channels is a very big or very, very important topic. The CDP is more or less the data brain in the middle, collecting your data sources, or connecting your data sources with the different destinations. Now we save the audience and say push to destination, and now this audience will apply in your Facebook account, in your DV360 account, and in your trade desk account, and you can run a campaign. Of course, we also have capabilities for A/B testing that we launch. So we have it on the roadmap for Q2, actually, where you can also cut your audience into up to 5 subsegments, and you can also orchestrate A/B tests from the CDP and activate, for example, 5 subsegments of an audience in the same channel to test use cases beforehand, and then activate when you tested them. So this is, as I said, how you can create an audience and send this audience to a channel in near time. So the different destinations have different SLAs. So a DSP takes up to 2 days to populate an audience, and Facebook, for example, takes up to 2 hours, sometimes 5 hours. It's a little bit quicker, but it's not in real time. So when we want to send data in real time for website personalization, because of course you want to personalize the website as soon as I visit the website, you can do that in our module Symphony, like orchestration. Right? It's a nice. The product team was very creative here. So let's jump into. Did I start the video? Yes. Let's jump into the workflows. So what you do here is you create decision trees and say, I want to, based on different events or based on different conditions, I want to send the right data to the right downstream channel at the right time. So what you do here is you define an entry condition. For example, you say, I want to, whenever a user is performing a certain event on my website, for example, starting a checkout, you have also the different operators here, and you say, give me all users who started a checkout. So it's a little bit slow here. So you see the different website events here, right? And you can say, okay, give me all users who started a checkout, and you can combine this event now with and or with different other attributes or events. And you say this checkout should have a cart value of at least 50 euro, right? Can also be 1,000 euro or any value you're looking for. In this case, we said, okay, for this demo, give me all users who started a checkout for at least 50 euro. You can combine this with more attributes, events, real-time events, or you can use also CRM data or data coming from the data warehouse to combine your website behavior data with, for example, user attributes or customer types. And you say, I just want to personalize the website for users that I already know. Existing customers, for example. So we have an entry condition, whenever a user is starting a checkout with at least 50 euro and is an existing customer, then we want to start this workflow in real time and automatically, right? So now you can say, okay, I want to add another condition, I want to add a delay, or I want to send this information already to a destination, like a personalization engine, can be Adobe Target, Braze, Salesforce, whatever. Or you say, I want to split the users based on the value. So you can say here, okay, I want to distinguish between high-value customers, medium-value customers, and low-value customers. This is the example I picked here. And say, okay, I want to create different user journeys for these different user groups. And of course, you need to tell the CDP, okay, what is a high-value customer for me? You can say, do it basically based on lifetime value, or in this case, we have the RFM segments. You can say, okay, whenever a user is coming very recently, very frequently, and when they are doing or searching for products of a certain value, then they are my best customers and have are high value customers at the end. Then you can say all users falling into my RFM segment, potential loyalists are the medium value customers, or all users that are, for example, at risk because they are not visiting my website so often, they are more inactive users and not buying so frequently, so these guys are low-value customers. And now you can say, I want to personalize the experience and the website or offer different things to these user groups in real time and automatically. Right? So you can, for example, of course you say, okay, whenever a high-value customer started a checkout but didn't convert, right? So it didn't land on the thank you page, didn't generate a thank you event within 3 minutes. I'm impatient, I want to offer this user something, right? And say, hey, buy the hoodie or buy the mug, right? So you send this information to a recommendation engine and you can decide here what kind of information you send to the recommendation engine. And this is a placeholder here. The recommendation engine can be any tool you are using to personalize the website, because what we not do is we are not a campaign tool, so we don't host the assets that you display then to the customer. We just send the data to Adobe Target, Braze, Salesforce Interaction Studio, Dynamic Yield, and so on. So any platform you might use. And then we say, okay, please send the identifier. Please send certain event names, user traits to the recommendation engine, because the recommendation engine needs to receive the information that the recommendation engine needs to decide then, okay, what kind of content should I display now to this user? And we will see that in a second. For example, for the high-value customer, Stephanie Rockstar, we are personalizing the website and offer her a special discount to incentivize her to buy. Yeah? Because we want to increase the conversion. But what if Stephanie Rockstar in this case is not converting? So we can even create sequences here in a very easy way. Yeah, so we can say, okay, we sent this information to the recommendation engine, we personalized the website, but Stephanie didn't buy. So what we can say then, okay, if Stephanie is still not buying, yeah, if we still didn't convince her, then please send this information to, and I think we picked Brace, can be, as I said, any output channel that is real-time fähig, what do we say in English, which is real-time ready. And we can say now, okay, please send the information, this is a high-value customer, to Brace. Yeah, and Brace there then can start a different workflow to decide, okay, what should happen next. For example, you now send Stephanie a push notification, or you send Stephanie an email which is personalized. Yeah, but you orchestrate that from the CDP to your downstream systems, and there basically you decide, okay, what kind of content should now be sent to the different user segments. So we did the same for the medium value users. So we sent the different information to the medium value customers as well, and then perhaps a different discount or different content is shown. Of course, you can also pick like gender, for example, right? My wife should get other content than I do. So you can say whenever a user is starting a checkout and is female, and you know that, please display the women clothes to her. If you know the customer is male, please display something else. And then you can also decide, and we did that for the low-value customers, perhaps it's too expensive to personalize the whole experience for low-value customers. Perhaps you just want to send this information then and I think we picked Salesforce, Facebook. Yeah, and we can then say, for example, low-value customers, we don't want to personalize the full experience. In this case, we want to send the information to Facebook and just retarget the users if they didn't convert. Yeah, and this is how you can create real-time workflows. And the data can be sent via webhooks, APIs, streaming into the different channels. Okay, this is the full workflow now. So we created within, don't let me lie, I think 7 minutes, 8 minutes, we created a fully automated customer journey for 3 different customer groups. Yeah. And you can create like 5 or 10 workflows based on different events to personalize your website, to personalize your app, to communicate in a personalized way with your customers, to send the right information to your email tool, personalize the email template based on this information, and you can do that in an automated way. So here in this example, for high-value customers like Stephanie Rockstar, we wanted to personalize the experience. So if she is adding the mug to the shopping basket and she didn't convert after, I think, what was it, 3 minutes, and she's a high-value customer, we now say, okay, please send her a discount for 20%, and say, hey, you are a high-value customer, please buy this mug. And perhaps we incentivize Stephanie then to even buy more than one mug, right? So you see here in real time, this discount is appearing. The experience is personalized for her. This is just the example we picked here. Of course, it can be the entire website, so the whole navigation is different, all the different products, the product feed is different. And you see here, the discount is already here, available, and now she's buying 3 mugs. Yeah, this was the demo. So we tried to show you as much use cases as possible. We try to be as hands-on as possible, show you how you can pre-aggregate the data in Zone 1, how you can send the data easily to Zone 2, unify the data, create customer profiles, segment the data, activate the data, and also do it in real time. And yeah, I hope that we could give you some insights on why a build and buy strategy makes sense. I think yeah, the big advantage is that you have your own database still, right? You have the data sovereignty. Is that right? Did I pronounce it right? Okay, okay. So you have it in your own cloud system. Can be Google Cloud, can be another cloud, or, yeah, right? And you can also use this data, and you decide what kind of data you want to send to the CDP at the end in order to easily have access to the data, segment the data, activate the data. And yeah, this infrastructure can be set up quickly and easily. And as we promised, we can do the first use cases if you are ready, if you have the right consent, and so on, right? We can bring the first use cases live within 8 weeks and generate the first value. Yeah, this is what we have today. And over to you, Jana.
Yes. Yeah, thank you everyone for coming today. We will jump into a Q&A session right after this. And Stefan and I would be very happy if you want to connect with us on LinkedIn. Feel free to scan the code, add us on LinkedIn, reach out to us if you have any questions or if you want to connect with us. And we also have our shared booth with Braze and Zeotap at Halle A1, booth F11.
Yes, and there will be beer at 5.
Yeah, exactly.
But of course, we can have a chat now if you want, or later at the booth, so we will be there.
Yeah, so feel free to come. We have a special offer for OMR prepared for you, and of course, beer.
Thank you. Any questions?
Let us know if you have any questions. We can still pass the mic around.
And we need to hear you, we need to wear this one.
Yeah.
Okay.
Anyone? There's a question.
So first of all, thank you. So in the beginning, you've been talking about that your solution is also working with second-party data or in combination with clean room. Can you maybe talk a bit more about this topic? Because my impression was that the data was very open. Like, for example, I could see the name and the email addresses of the people, which would work for clean room solution. Can you maybe talk about this?
Sure. It's weird. Opala. It's weird to hear myself. So yes, you can ingest any data that you want. Of course, what we showed today is a first-party data focus, right? So we use first-party data to show you these different use cases. Of course, when you have data deals with different partners, you can also ingest second-party data into the CDP as a data source when you are allowed to, when you have a DPA or joint controllership agreement. And of course, this data can also be pseudonymized, can be hashed. And you can then use the data to combine it with your first-party data in the audience builder and create audiences based on first and second-party data.
Another question.
Mm-hmm.
Hi, thanks for your speech. Do you actually also tie content into your system? So I mean, would you automate also the whole picture? You basically customers would see the ad. This is one question, and the second question, I actually forgot.
Okay, no, we don't. No, we don't. So what we do is we really orchestrate and send the right data to the campaign tools. But we don't offer campaigning capabilities. So we don't host any assets like ads or pictures or whatever. So we send the data to your campaign tool, to your recommendation engine, and there basically the workflow will continue. And then the campaign tool will decide, okay, Zeotap sent me this information. Now I need to decide what kind of content I want to display now in real time. So do you need two systems in that case?
Yeah, but you would tie that data.
Sorry?
You would tie that data asset management system that dances into to your flow. When you were going through the flow, at some point you would maybe tie this in.
It's basically the destination where we send the data. Yeah. So you pick a destination, we send the data to the destination, and this is for us a downstream system, an output channel. So you have the CDP as a data brain, and then the campaign tool is getting the right data at the right time from the CDP to decide, okay, now I need to trigger this campaign or to trigger this content.
And remember the second question. Apps. I would need it for website and an app, but with Apple, it's sometimes very difficult to inject like ads. So is that how do you go about this? And
So for app personalization, for example, we would also send the data, for example, to Braze or to any system who can do app personalization, and then you can do like an in-app personalization, in-app ad, in-app communication, push notifications, and so on.
Thank you. Yeah, thanks for the nice demo.
Welcome.
So this stitching, what you call stitching, is basically like at the core of it is really the most important, crucial piece to really nail and do really well. That shows then how powerful the possibilities are with the CDP. Now I was wondering, okay, how much of, like on average, how much of a user's journey are you actually able to match together? Like, is it basically like a puzzle, right? How much are you actually able to put together of that? And then I was wondering, are you even able to know, to see how much? It's basically, there are blind spots, right? If a user, for example, is watching an item being in an incognito mode or is not logged in on whatever, there are blind spots. But how do you even know what you don't know?
Okay, it's a good question actually. So what we do, we would look into your use cases, and then we would decide together with you what kind of data do we need for this use case. So to avoid blind spots, for example. So and then we would integrate with the different data sources that we need and send the right data into the CDP in order to create segments and these workflows. Of course, you decide how much systems and how much data you want to ingest in order to avoid these blind spots. When the users are not logged in on the website, we can also work with unknown users. So let's say I'm visiting a website, I'm not logging in, but you can still, I give consent, for example, for dropping a first-party cookie. Then we can use the Zeotap first-party cookie and sync our cookie with other systems that you need, a Google cookie, ad form, and so on. And we can create a profile based on a cookie. This profile is not as rich as a known user profile with a CRM ID and so on. But as soon as I log in, and you have, let's say, two profiles of myself, my unknown profile and my known profile. As soon as you log in and we have your email address, we will use this identifier to stitch together the different journeys. And we say, this unknown user is actually Stefan. Right? And so we avoid blind spots because we stitch the data from as many sources as possible. And this is the heart of the CDP, to really unify the data, have a single source of truth, and use this then for orchestration and activation.
Thank you.
But it's highly depending on your use cases, what you want to achieve, and where you want to activate.
Yeah, makes sense. Okay, thanks.
Any other questions? Otherwise, you can always find us at the Braze Zeotap booth.
Yes.
Well, thank you, everyone.
Thank you.